Hello again. Time to talk about another badass black woman in history. And today we're talking about Charlotte Hawkins Brown. Hawkins Brown once said, "My philosophy is that position or place can never segregate mind or soul. I sit in the Jim Crow car, but my mind keeps company with the kings and queens I have known." She was born in the 1880s in Henderson, North Carolina, but she and her family moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts at a pretty young age. And she went all the way through her schooling there. She got studied for a teaching degree at Salem State Normal School. Her higher schooling was actually paid for by a member of the Massachusetts Board of Education, a woman who was really impressed by Charlotte's intellect and her determination to get educated. She was hired to teach at a missionary school in North Carolina, but that school had almost no resources. They didn't even have enough books for the children, and it closed after a year. So Charlotte, very young Charlotte, decided she was going to open her own school. She found a kind of worn down blacksmith's cabin that she could use to begin to teach her classes. And she immediately started raising money and actually, in some cases, building buildings herself. She ended up eventually getting 200 acres and two very well appointed buildings. She called it the Palmer Memorial Institute after the woman who had paid for her schooling back in Massachusetts. Her school was unique in a lot of different ways. One, the entire board was African American. It was also one of the only schools for any students in the state that had a college prep course. It became a boarding school that brought in students from all around the country. It was fully accredited, one of the only black schools to achieve that. She was president of that school for 50 years. She also helped found the very first school for delinquent black girls in North Carolina. She started a junior college. She raised more than $100,000 for an endowment for the school. She raised $350,000 for her school in a single year's time in 1925. She said, "I must sing my song. There may be other songs more beautiful than mine, but I must sing the song God gave me to sing, and I must sing it until death." In 1940, she published a book called "The Correct Thing to Do, to Say, to Wear." If you read the comments from her former students, they all talk about how she gave them all not just an education, but a sense of themselves, a sense of their worth. She wanted to send them forth into a world that saw black kids as less than, inferior, dangerous, criminal, and she sent them out of her school with a sense of dignity and again, self-worth. She got 6 honorary degrees, including honorary doctorates from Lincoln, Wilberforce, and Howard University. She was a charter member of the Southern Commission for Interracial Cooperation, also of the Southern Regional Council, an executive board member of the Urban League for the South, the Negro Business League. She served with the American Red Cross. She was the first black woman to be elected to the national board of the YWCA. Just a legendary educator and activist. At one point, she wrote, "When Abraham Lincoln dipped his pen in the ink of freedom and wrote that immortal Emancipation Proclamation, he freed only the Negro man. The Negro woman was left in slavery. The Negro woman wants everything: education, power, influence, in fact, everything that the white woman wants, but her white husband." As late as the 1940s, her school was still the only finishing school of its kind in America, and she continued to write and speak civil rights activists all over the country. She said, "What kind of pictures do we select for our homes, for our children to look upon? Are there many Negroes to whom a real symphony would be a treat? Do we care to listen to Bach, Schubert, and Beethoven?" At one point, she sued the railroad after 12 white men forced her from her birth that she'd paid for in Alabama. She also said, "The question in my heart and mind, and God only knows how it hurts, is just what are they going to ask me to submit to as a Negro woman to get their interest? For there are some men who occupy high places who feel that no Negro woman, whether she be cook, criminal, or principal of a school, should ever be addressed as Mrs." This is at a time when people would call black African Americans uncle or aunt, and it was just a way for them to avoid calling them Mr. and Mrs. The Palmer Memorial Institute is a state historic site now. In fact, it was the first state-supported site to honor the contributions of African Americans and women. This is a picture of one of the buildings for the Palmer Institute. Charlotte Hawkins Brown, absolute badass. Have a great day, and as always, please be kind.